So on the last playlist video, I talked a bit about Outer Wilds and how I struggled to get into the game, despite really digging the premise. But this month I decided to give it another go, start from scratch and see if I could figure out what makes the game so good. And yeah, I did. So this isn't your usual playlist where I talk about 3 or 4 different games I played this month. This month's just been too crazy. Instead, I'm going to focus exclusively on Outer Wilds and go a bit more deep about why I like this game so much and why I recommend you give it a go. I'm going to be as spoiler-free as possible, but you know, this game is all about the experience, so it's going to be hard to be completely spoiler-free. Do with that information what you will. Okay. So Outer Wilds is about exploring a miniature solar system in this rickety-ass rocket ship. You're the most recent astronaut to set off from the tiny world of Timber Hearth, and your job is to simply explore the nearby planet and seek out the secrets of the universe. Only about 20-odd minutes into your adventure, something a bit bad happens. The sun blows up. It goes supernova, it wipes out everything in existence, and instantly kills you. Luckily, you're stuck in some sort of time loop and wake up 20 minutes earlier, ready to once again take your very first rocket flight into space. You'll soon realise that this sun explosion and time loop isn't just adding some time pressure to your adventure, but the solar system changes over the course of those 20 minutes. The most obvious and clever take on this is a pair of planets called the Hourglass Twins. One planet is covered in a thick layer of ash, and its orbiting sibling is a hollow rock with an underground labyrinth at its core. However, as time ticks away, that ash transfers from one planet to the other like a massive hourglass, revealing new locations on the former and closing off the labyrinth on the latter. Clever stuff. Exploring Outer Wilds is a bit like a walking simulator, I suppose. Like an Interstellar Gone Home, you'll find notes, conversation recordings, drawings, and environmental storytelling that will help you piece together the plot of the game. Basically, you're following in the footsteps of the Nomai, another species that came to this solar system and seem to know a lot more about what's going on than you and your pals. But often, the things you learn aren't just plot details and exposition, but clues and hints for the game's puzzles. Outer Wilds is a bit like a Metroidvania or a point-and-click adventure, but instead of finding a screw attack or a rubber chicken with a pulley in the middle, you'll find information that you can use to help you overcome challenges around the solar system. So, for example, you might come to a waterlogged planet with an impregnable core. Later, on another planet, on the other side of the sun, you might find some research lab where a Nomai scientist has found out the secret to getting beneath the core on that planet. It won't be an upgrade for your ship or anything, it's just a technique or a secret route or something like that. It's a bit like Tokitori 2 then, or Return of the Obra Dinn, where you're essentially cross-referencing information. And this has a few advantages. One is that it forces you to take all the information in. The game doesn't split between actually useful abilities and pointless plot exposition. You've got to study everything carefully and figure out what you can use. 2 is that it's possible to solve problems yourself without learning this information, allowing you to stumble onto stuff early if you're clever and experimental. And 3 is that it leads to lots of "oh, so that's how I do that" moments, which send you hurtling across space with excitement to try out your new technique. Cleverly, the game has lots of mysteries to solve, roughly 3 or 4 big central problems, but dozens of smaller ones, and they crisscross all over the universe. So you might be following clues about the quantum moon, but along the way you'll get info about the orbital probe cannon, so go off and figure that out, only to find more clues about the moon. However, this was the thing that I struggled with in the first place. I simply received so much information in the early part of the game that I just didn't take any of it in. The game does log interesting clues in your ship's computer, so I thought, I'll just read loads of stuff and then analyse it on the computer later. But by that point it was just overwhelming and I didn't know where to go or what to do, and my excitement simply petered out. For my second playthrough, I decided to play with a piece of paper and jot down clues myself and then follow one thing at a time. I barely used the computer, and that was just a much better experience. But even in this second playthrough, I did struggle to enjoy Outer Wilds at times, so let me throw a few criticisms at you. One is that I don't feel like there was a compelling central problem to solve. So, in Obra Dinn, the mystery is, how did all the crew members die? And in Her Story, it's, who killed Simon Smith? But in Outer Wilds, it's more fuzzy. It's like, why is the sun blowing up? Or is that just the end of its life? I don't know. And why am I in a time loop? And what happened to the Nomai? And what's that thing in the sky at the start of the loop? I think a more central and singular problem to solve, like, and this is just a hypothetical and not a spoiler, how can I stop the sun blowing up, would make everything a bit more focused. 2 is that the ease at which you die, either of oxygen loss, or your suit getting pierced, or invisible-ish poison particles, or getting crushed under a rock, etc., meant I was nervous to try things and experiment. If I messed up slightly, it's not back to a checkpoint or a save game, it's back to the start of the loop and the start of the game back on Timber Hearth. So if you got all the way inside some complex maze-like planet centre and then died, it's back to the beginning for you. I like how that stuff makes it feel more tense and adds higher stakes when exploring in games like Dark Souls, but I'm not sure if it works as well in a puzzle-solving game. And then there's the time sequence. Things happen throughout the 20 minutes, and you'll often find yourself in moments where you've either missed your opportunity or your opportunity isn't coming for another 10 minutes. And these last two things did lead me to look up a few things in a walkthrough. There would be things where it took me so long to get to a place and the threat of dying or running out of time was so great that I just wanted to know what to do rather than die, reset, try again, and die and reset and repeat until I got it. I wish I didn't look at a walkthrough. Looking at one kind of took a lot of the magic out of the game, to be honest, so please try to avoid it yourself. But this is why LucasArts games didn't kill you like Sierra games. They know you need time and safety to solve puzzles. Overall though, I did really enjoy my time in Outer Wilds. There were definitely moments of frustration, but also many moments of revelation and curiosity and intrigue and surprise. And this is a game that is ambitious and clever, and the central story is thrilling to follow. I'd definitely recommend it to anyone who has enjoyed games like Obra Dinn, or Her Story, or Gone Home, but do be aware that this one has more traditional gaming tropes like death and time pressure and tricky 3D controls that are different to the other games. Anyway, cheers. Sorry it was a bit of a different episode, but I'm moving house, so I haven't got time to play loads of games at the moment, I'm afraid. Try to be back to a more normal video in August. I love you, you're the best. See you soon. Little kiss for you there. That was weird.